Hi, it's great to be here. Line. As I was saying, Roger.
Donkey Shane, darling Donkey Shane. Hey, I'll be here every Thursday morning at 11 for brunch.
All right, let me get a level check.
Level check.
This is the test.
Level check. I'm going to talk about the myths. My talk was on the myths of science. I started with nuclear. I went into HPV.
This is gonna be awesome. There's a pen.
Maybe I should get my computer out and look at the HD myth.
Okay.
You know, the myth of the expert, or so nuclear is clean. HPV is the virus that causes whatever the hell they say it is, cervical cancer, right? What's next?
All right, here we go. Stand by. Welcome back. We're here at the Health Freedom Expo, and there's a man on the street here. We grabbed off the street, in fact. Actually, he lectured here at the Health Freedom Expo. His name is Liam Scheff, and you've heard the Robert Scott Bell Show. You've heard Liam, and we got him here in person. I'm very excited to talk about what he was talking about at the Expo. We just did a screening of House of Numbers, but before that, he lectured on some very important topics, including the myth of the expert. Is a PhD something we should believe in and worship? Liam Scheff.
Robert, I've never done this show live with you before.
It's amazing.
I didn't know that you did this in the nude.
Here we go. This is my birthday suit right here. You didn't know I looked.
Always wearing a sweater. He looks great. Relax, you people out there. He's fit, but don't worry about it. Yeah, I was lucky enough. I was asked to give a talk at. I was asked to give a talk here at the Health Freedom Expo, and I decided to talk about essentially the myth of the expert. I call it the myth of science. We're in a culture where we're a hierarchical species. We're always looking for answers. We need somebody that we trust more than other people because we don't have time. We have 3 kids. We have a car that we have to buy and make payments on, and the credit card people are coming, and the news comes on, and they say the bird flu. Are you going to vaccinate your kids? Now the argument is suddenly, are you going to vaccinate your kids, or are you going to let them die of the bird flu?
Yeah, they framed that debate pretty well, and so there's no thought form that can escape out of the box that they created for much of the population in that scenario.
Right. So what's the, do you have a moment to ask the other question? You turn on the AM chat stations where you're supposedly allowed to call in and make points, and they say, well, is the bird flu, are you going to let your kids suffer are you going to get them, is the bird flu real? They say, well, they're the experts. Yeah. How do you figure out what's true or what's not? This is sort of what I've made my life's work. You find the medical papers on the various things called bird flu, AIDS, swine flu, SARS, polio. Here's another argument. Nuclear power is safe and clean, right? This is the new argument coming out. The experts will tell you nuclear power is safe and clean. Only the leftover hippies from the 60s still wearing the beads that they were wearing at Woodstock will tell you that it's not, and they hate capitalism, and well, I don't hate capitalism. I want my kids to be safe. I'm going to give them the vaccine, and I'm going to get the nuclear power thing because I'm progressive.
That doesn't sound like a lot of progress going on there. I thought that's regressive. And, the fact of the matter is, you mentioned nuclear. We're all witnessing a disaster of epic and global proportions in Japan. And when you talk about the safety, you get back to this so-called carbon footprint. It's all about the carbon footprint. And then what about the radioactive footprint right now? Did they overlook that? Where is Al Gore on this one?
The debate is over. See, this is how bad science works. This is how you make a bad scientific argument. You exclude all the data except the data that you want to promote. So nuclear power can only be clean if you exclude 90% of what it takes to make a nuclear power plant work. Nuclear power can be clean if you imagine that for free you get enriched uranium and you have a building in which you can make that enriched uranium boil water. You have to get all that for free to make nuclear non-polluting.
And of course, it's not free. And in order to do that, there's a nasty, if you want to call it carbon footprint, but there's a lot of pollution, a lot of other aspects that are not so conducive to, let's say, a balanced environment.
Now, will the media report on this? They may not. You have to go to a lot of sources, but the problem is you can't trust it. No source will give all of it to you, and even if you take all of the sources, this is the problem we face. If you listen to every media source, you still will not get all the information.
Right.
This is the problem that you and I face. I mean, we see this all the time. Nobody just figures out what the truth is, because to get the truth, you have to read comparatively. You have to have the time to do cross-discipline research, right?
Yes.
Very hard to do. I mean, how do you do this when the kids are crying? How do you do this when the child that you vaccinated is suddenly acting very strange and not responding anymore, and you have fears? Are you going to become one of these crazy moms? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to be hated by my neighbors. We were dealing with somebody today. Should we vaccinate? They won't be allowed in school.
And they didn't even know. Exactly. And that's something that's not difficult to find, quite honestly, now, and there's still a lot of that going on there. Whatever happened to the don't trust the man kind of concept? I mean, that used to be a mantra of a lot of people, and it just kind of went away, particularly from those that didn't trust the man. Now they suddenly trust the man.
Who's the man? What is it? Okay, we're heading into a period of economic, we're in a period of economic uncertainty. We're heading into a period of greater economic uncertainty. Oil is probably peaking, which means that the amount that's pulled out of the ground will go down slowly, not tomorrow, but the prices will go up. This will happen for a variety of reasons. That means that all the things that were used to being easy will get harder. The government doesn't want us to freak out. People are going to freak out. They're going to distract us. How are they going to distract us? They're going to invent something to distract us with, like swine flu, bird flu, a new SARS version 2, revenge of the swine flu.
Well, it's easy to blame a microbe because it's not political, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, and it begs the question now. The government looks pretty stressed, pretty nervous about some of the awakenings that are happening, despite we see a lot of people still not awakened to these realities. What do they have to offer? At the end, I say tyranny. Maybe you have a perspective on what does the government have to offer when they're under stress?
I mean, if you have a parent, even a good parent, but an average parent, even a bad parent, under extraordinary stress, they fall back on they don't even realize, you're a parent. Under extreme, you find yourself saying things that your parents said you can't. If you don't eat that, you're going to starve. People in China are starving, go to your room, or and you say terrible things. Oh my God, where did that come from? Governments are like parents. They feel the need to protect their own self-identity, their self-worth. They feel the need to keep people under control, so they feel that they're in control. That's what the government does. When people are agitating in the streets because food prices are through the roof twice or 3 times, they're going to fall back on what they can do to control the population. They will rely on their experts. Their experts are the PhDs. They'll form congressional committees. The congressional committees will ask the scientists at the NIH what to do. Do you trust a congressperson to really wade through the scientific literature? I mean,
not a good plan.
Didn't they approve a health bill knowing that afterward they would read it?
Right, yes. In order to find out what's in it, we'll have to pass
We'll have to, said Miss Pelosi.
Yeah.
But these Congress people in charge of the subcommittee on influenzas, and they'll have special names for it. They'll be long and arcane and Byzantine, and you have to wade through 600 pages to find out that they just took your right to not take the new drug. They just took that right away from you for your own benefit. When governments get stressed, they're going to act essentially like parents under extraordinary duress, trying to control and manage their children's lives.
Well, we talk about parental tyranny. As I said, if people look at this point, they start waking up, and that stresses the government who says, whoa, we can't have them awake, they might see through us. The only reaction, as you said, a parent in panic, is tyranny on the kids. Okay, it's all bets are off. There's no rationality. We're not reasoning with you. You got to do this, or else there's the disaster, the end of the world. You're going to starve. You're going to die, whatever. And we see that playing itself out in so many things now, and we see it here at the Health Freedom Expo in regards to those that are waking up to say, hey, cancer, wow, it may not have anything to do with this mystery that is resolved by poisoning my body or radiating my body. It may be that I didn't have the certain nutrients in there, and we're not even allowed to know that is. But I don't care anymore. I want to know it. I'm going to find out. Now, panic time for government. They're waking up. What do we do?
Yeah, I think the move in the country, frankly, has to be to somewhat willfully ignore insanity at the federal level. They're going to come to us and they're going to tell us, we need you all to vaccinate your children yet again because the 20 last times you did it wasn't good enough, and we're sure that the snail flu is coming at breakneck speed from Argentina. We know it.
Right. So the 21st time is the charm of that shot. We're going to nail it this time, I promise. Forget the swine flu of 75, 76. It didn't happen. It's not real. It's just a figment of Gerald Ford's imagination. Where do we move forward? What about the experts now? Here we're sitting in a place with a lot of holistic experts, natural experts. Do we replace one expert for another? Do we end up in the same place? I mean, this is another question that it's scratching my head here.
We're a hierarchical species. Nothing can be done about that.
Tell me what to do.
Right. Well, in fear, we refer to people who seem to either they have a bigger stick, or they've been in charge for long, or something. But if you are a parent, if you have children, if you are concerned about the direction of the company, I like that Freudian slip. If the United States Incorporated, if you're concerned about the direction of the company, you have to fight the CEO a little bit. And I don't want you to go out on the street and say, you don't have to burn your bra, you don't have to do anything like that. I want you to ignore insanity and join with your neighbors and join with your friends and say, we are deeply concerned about this vaccine thing. Don't get into calling me a denier or a quack. You need to read the actual standard literature on the stuff. You need to read the history of this thing. We have to now ourselves become better experts than the experts, because the experts are the corporation now.
Right.
How do you become a doctor without taking what did Dr. Suzanne Humphreys told, $400,000 20 years ago in loans? What is it now? What are you going to pay, $500,000 that you owe, and then you're going to fight back on these guys so they can kick you out of the club? No, you got to stick with it. You got to keep peddling their wares. We cannot trust. God, this has got to be set through history over and over again, right? You cannot trust the experts anymore. This is a very serious time where they're going to be pressing and pressing. They're pushing Hep C now. I listen to the radio. They're pushing Hep C like crazy. What is Hep C? You drink a lot, you're on pharmaceuticals, you have unusual liver enzymes, you suddenly have, it's not a virus, you just have some problems in your liver. They're going to give you interferon. There's no difference in the lifespan of people there's no qualitative or quantitative. This doesn't fix anything.
No, of course not. And I've seen this, and my focal point is on liver health, detoxification of the liver, and in evidence in what I've seen over 25 years of doing this, in fact, what you said is accurate, that when we talk about hepatitis C, we're talking about liver congestion times 10 times 100 consistently. We're talking about influx of toxins, a lack of or a deficiency of the nutrients that allow the liver to function properly. Then it expresses in a certain way inflammation throughout the body. We can take these tests, the enzymes are elevated, and you're right, they point to a virus rather than a lifestyle, rather than a nutrient deficiency. And of course that would break the cycle of the monopoly of the so-called experts that demand that you adhere to, well, we've got to kill something. We got to kill something. That's the only context or concept we allow here, the warfare analogy of all life.
Yeah, it really is this terrorist model. We're never responsible for anything that we do. We can do anything we want. We're wonderful people, and every once in a while something terrible happens to us. We then have to militarize and go and crush an entire group of people that we've never met, including our own bodies.
Right.
And medically, this is the warfare model emerging in World War I, where people were getting gassed in the fields.
Yeah, and a lot of the medicine's coming out of the same gas from the fields. And we look at in your presentation here at the Health Freedom Expo and elsewhere, because this is growing, and you have your own radio show via Blog Talk Radio as well, and I have you on here on the Robert Scott Bell Show because I love what you're doing. You're putting some sense into places where people aren't really thinking clearly yet. How were you, in your perception, how were you received? Were there people running for the hills? Yeah, I can't handle this, Liam. Or were they embracing and starting to observe and say, wow, this is a point I hadn't considered, and maybe I need to look further into this?
I was thrilled to be allowed to come and talk. It was just a great, nobody loves positivity, but it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I stood up there, and I had to shake the audience a little bit in the beginning to understand that we were going to talk. I was going to put stuff to them. I wasn't telling them how to get better with 3 easy steps. I was saying we all have to engage at a different level of critical thinking than we've been trained to. We've been hypnotized by the flashing screens everywhere. We carry them everywhere we go. George Orwell had nothing on this society. We are Big Brother. We walk around filming ourselves. The Onion put out a fake news story. They actually did a video for it where they played CIA saying, we've been able to shut down all of our programs because the Facebook operation is so successful. Who knew that people would be so desperate to give us all the details of their personal lives, their political contacts and affiliations? We have got to, Facebook is another story, but we've got to pull back. And how do you think critically is really the question. I mean, I'd love to walk out into the world and say, you all got to think very critically. These experts who tell you about the bird flu and the swine flu and the wonderful nuclear power and how it's safe and we need the electricity from this and there are no, aren't they getting paid by somebody? And don't you need to know the details? If they tell you nuclear power is clean and they ignore 90% of what it takes to make nuclear power, if they tell you the bird flu is coming to get you but they ignore the entire geography and what's the word? The entire toxicological profile of the country in which this is happening. Vietnam, Southeast Asia. No, they're not polluted. They only had Monsanto products dumped on the population for 10 years. I mean, they're not serious. You cannot trust them anymore. If you did, you have to stop trusting that these people have your interest in heart. There's too much money at stake. They have too much to lose, and they don't want to be carried away and ridden out of town on a rail. So they're going to keep telling you that everything's okay. And when you don't believe it, there may be a FEMA camp in your future. And if you want cable TV and the Charlie Sheen show, and you want all the vaccines you can handle, you can go and laugh it up. And it can all be sarcasm and irony for you. But if you want to be serious, you got to pay attention. What happens when the oil price goes up? What happens when we have to grow food locally? What happens when the government says you got to vaccinate all your kids? You're going to have to band together. We're going to need each other more than we've ever needed each other in this country.
Well, if you want to learn more, liamscheff.com, LiamScheff.com, also reducetheburden.org. Fascinating perspectives and well thought out, well researched as well. That's why we love Liam Scheff here and have him on from time to time as often as we can here to release this kind of information and to say, hey, don't trust the man. Come on, wake up everybody.
Wake up everybody.
Thank you, Liam. Robert Scott Bell Show rocking the health world here at the Health Freedom Expo. We did it in 1530.
Thanks so much.